is, I would love to see them go after Xavier Edwards. He plays second base. He's athletic. He hits for average, hits around 290 to 300. He's got speed. He's quick. He's very athletic, and he doesn't strike out a ton. And the Giants, I'm looking at this lineup next year, and I'm thinking if they add Eldridge to the lineup and just kind of keep it the same, what's going to be different if you don't have the pitching that can take you the whole way through? Not pitching that gets you through 90 games and 100, and you're like, oh, okay, but then they wear out. But I was counting the number of guys that strike out over 25% in the lineup, and it's everyone except Jung-Hoo Lee. So you got to score more than 4 runs a game. You can't just be scoring 1-2 runs and getting shut out 20 plus times a season. We all agree.
I don't even think it's the new manager can come in and even change the mindset that much. There should be a shift in their approach to try to hit for contact, try to play into the strengths of Oracle Park. And you just don't see that happening. So they do need to maybe add at least one more piece that puts the ball in play, makes contact, hits for average, just to balance out those Chapman and Adames.
I think you need 2 of them. You got to find 2 guys to add.
Rick Smith, who was on with us last weekend, brought up a good point, and that is trade Eldridge. He's the same guy. He's exactly what you got with Devers. Yeah. And, what are you going to do with him? So if you could get something serious for Eldridge, if people feel his potential's there, maybe you could fill a couple of spots with some controllable players like an Xavier Edwards or somebody else for Eldridge.
Yeah, and I think your best, they're not going to trade Webb, but it's Webb and Eldridge are their really only 2 commodities that will bring you some star power back. Otherwise, you're talking about just fringe guys that you're trying to add. And I think the Giants need a couple of contact hitters. If somehow you were able to get a Stephen Kwan and an Xavier Edwards in your starting lineup, now you can live with the strikeouts because these guys aren't going to be striking out all the time, and they're going to be on base.
I said this a month ago. Watch the playoff teams.
Yep.
Watch the Blue Jays. Watch the Brewers. Watch the Dodgers to some extent. These teams put the ball in play.
Correct.
Put the ball in play. Nico Horner. They put the ball in play, and that's something the Giants don't do. So this is a good lesson. Yeah, this may be more than a 1-year deal. And I think we have to accept that as Giant fans, that this may take a couple of years to figure this out.
I think you're right, Marty. It could take a couple of years because, frankly, if you look at the farm system, there's really nothing there at AAA that's going to bring you much value. AA, they're starting to get guys like Bo Davidson and stuff, but the real strength of the Giants farm system was at San Jose this year. And that's low A. And, a couple guys got moved up to Eugene, but you're looking at 2 to 4 years before, these guys all start to come. I mean, you got your kid from the Dominican, the number 1 international signing, Jesus Gonzalez. How does his full name go? What is it? Jesus.
The $6 million man.
Yeah. They say he's supposed to be really, really good, but he's at least 4 years away. He's
right. The Giants don't have time to wait that long, though. They have these guys signed, Chapman, Adames, Devers, for 6-7 years, 7 more years. And the next 3 years are the prime time years. They start to decline after that. So they need to strike right now while the iron is hot. In order to do that, you need pitching. They need to spend money now. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting all this money you're spending on these players.
Go ahead.
On these years.
Let's hear who you want. Go ahead.
Pitching wise,
Yeah.
Ranger Suarez, I think, would be a great fit.
Okay.
I think if they can just that's an important piece to this offseason. So they could add. I'd like to see them. If you could add someone that hits more for contact, like a Bo Bichette, bring him in to either move Adames to second base or have Bo Bichette play second base. Get a guy that hits 300 in the lineup, and I think that would make a big difference.
Okay.
And then you're right. Trading Eldridge is an option. They should be listening to anybody who picks up the phone and calls. It makes you have the DH, so it's not a Willie McCovey situation where somebody has to go play the outfield. But I imagine they're going to have Eldridge taking reps in the outfield, in left field or right field, just so that they have a little more flexibility with that, because there's not a lot of wiggle room with two power bats that play the same position. So you're right, it's not ideal, but they can make it work, especially if Eldridge comes in and he's hitting, and he can make that transition. We may not see him in the major leagues right away if they don't feel he's ready, which would alleviate that issue,
Yeah,
but
he probably needs more AAA time. Probably does.
Probably, and you want to see that. He came up because Dom Smith was hurt and they had room for him. But it would be good to have him in AAA to start the season and make him force the issue, make him force his way onto the team, where he's hitting so well down there that you can't say no to him anymore. You got to bring him up.
But we'll see him at spring training, and even though it's a shorter spring training, the games start right away, and sort of don't build up to it. But they'll give him he's coming off the wrist injury, so he's going to play a lot down here, and we will see. And if he has a scorching spring training, he'll break with the team. If he has one of those spring trainings like he did last year, where he hits a couple home runs and then strikes out, 12 times in a row, he won't.
Do we know how much his wrist injury was affecting him, when he at the end of the season?
I didn't even know he had a wrist injury.
Yeah, he's got bone spur, and he's got to have. He had surgery. He had
surgery.
I didn't know he had it either. No. So, it should be, somewhat interesting to see what they do here.
Let's get to the other point. Manager, and I tweeted out today: just trade for Stephen Vogt already. Stop the Nick Hundley talk. It's okay. Nick Hundley's a nice guy. He's friendly. If he's a manager, I guess it's all right. But if you want Stephen Vogt, make a deal that Cleveland couldn't hit their way out of a paper bag. And they had all sorts of trouble in the playoffs. They look horrible. They got Albernaz. If you don't want him as your manager, which they probably don't, I think, well, Cleveland would love to have him as a manager. It fits in everything they do, which is on the cheap. And just make a great deal for Vogt and bring Vogt in as your manager. Why not?
I'm all for it, Marty. I'm not sold on Nick Hundley just because he's never done it before. And
no, he'd have to surround himself with some good people, Well,
let me ask you guys this, because if the Giants go with Hundley, and from all the things I've read, him and Buster are pretty tight. They were good friends as teammates. And if you have a front office of Buster and Maniason who have a combined together 2 years experience, and you go with a first-year manager, that's your brain trust. Those are the three guys that are pretty much working together to put this team together.
You got Wotus is the senior who talks to them. They listen to him. They've got Randy Wynn, Jeremy Shelley, Zach.
Bobby Evans is a consultant.
He's a consultant. Yeah, he's a consultant.
Dusty is there.
Who?
Dusty Baker.
Yeah, if they, I'm not sure what kind of play they give him, but their main little group is what you just described. That's their group. That's who they are. They're growing up together.
Yeah, and
Zach knows what he's doing. Zach's been around.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go this direction because I think what they're trying to put together is more of a unit that is all on the same page in the same generation.
Right.
But I personally would love a Yadier Molina. I've talked about it. I think he would take no nonsense. He's one of the best catchers ever in the game. He was one of the most prepared catchers when it came to knowing what he was going to be.
Can they trust him? See, that's the thing. They want someone they can trust.
Yeah, maybe that's an issue.
Someone they can trust. And look, Chaim Bloom is taking over St. Louis. So Oliver Marmel, if he lasts the year, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, Molina will probably be the next manager of the Cardinals.
Yeah, and Pujols is going to manage the Angels, and that'll take care of the ex-Cardinal factor. So I think that's kind of where you're going with that. Yadier Molina will be a manager. But look, he sits in the Cardinal dugout. They brought him in this year. He's sitting around, and Marmel gets the new general manager, and you know what happens. The new general manager says, I want my guy.
What do you think of this comment, Marty, from Aaron Lost, also known as Bake That Dough, those cookies that are incredible? Says he thinks Posey might want someone who hasn't done it before, so he's moldable and a yes man to how Buster wants it done. Buster is then a de facto manager.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that dramatic, but yes, I think it is someone that, like Dan explained, who gets along and is the same philosophy. It used to be the general manager would hire someone who he could drink with. That was the way you got the job. Now the general manager hires someone who you can talk analytics with, and that's the difference. It's a different world. You're now having powwows about who to put in the fifth inning and the seventh inning, and there's so much planning that goes into that. We have no idea. We're watching a game like we think we're watching a game in 1910. Oh well, bring the pitcher in and hit behind the runner and do this. Come on. It's what you throw in this count and where he hits it in this count and where your outfielder stands in this count. And it's so complicated. It's unbelievable. So you need a manager who understands that and who can